When you look at Blackpink, you see the ultimate 21st century fairy tale, right? Four young women coming from different parts of the world brought together to become the biggest girl group on the entire planet. But, behind the billion-dollar tours and the millions of adoring fans, there's a story that's, well, it's a lot darker. It's a story about control, about being publicly crucified for private choices, and about threats so scary they make you question what it even means to be a star. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at the hidden battles of Blackpink. And that really forces us to ask the big question of this whole thing. What is the real price of global superstardom? We're not just talking about hard work or, losing some privacy. As you're about to see, the cost can be your freedom, your safety, and maybe even a piece of who you are. All right, let's get into it. So, to really get what these women are up against, you first have to understand the insane scale of their fame. Their journey wasn't just like a slow climb to the top. No, it was a rocket launch that basically left the entire music industry just trying to catch its breath. Now, if you're not deep in the K-pop world, let me just put this in perspective. Blackpink is way more than just a band. They are a global phenomenon. They were put together by YG Entertainment, one of Korea's absolute entertainment giants. You got the four members, Jisoo, Jennie, Rose, and Lisa, who debuted back in 2016 and boom, instantly became these huge cultural ambassadors. We're talking sold-out world tours, albums that smash records, a legendary performance at Coachella, even documentaries on Netflix. They are, and I'm not exaggerating, a force of nature. But what's really wild is looking at the incredible odds each one of them had to beat just to get in the door. These weren't just auditions. They were massive, life-changing gambles. I mean, Jennie was all set for an academic career in New Zealand before she just dropped everything for a shot at the stream. And Lisa? She went up against 4,000 competitors in Thailand and was the only one they picked. The only one! Jisoo used her background in her school's drama club to make herself stand out, and Rosé, who was pushed by her dad to even try out in Australia, ended up beating out 700 other people to get first place. Each story is just proof of their insane talent and drive. And that drive, it paid off immediately. You have to understand, in the super competitive world of K-pop, groups can fight for years just to get noticed. Blackpink got their first #1 win on a major music show in just 13 days. 13. Let that sink in for a second. That's a record for a girl group that still stands today. It was a sign that they weren't just another band. They were an earthquake. But that explosive rise to fame came with this hidden layer of control. So now we're going to move from the bright lights of the stage to the dark ink of the contracts that basically govern their lives. This is where the dream starts to look a lot more like a gilded cage. And look, these aren't just, friendly suggestions. These are strict, hard and fast rules often written right into their contracts. The infamous dating ban? That's all about keeping up the illusion that they're available to fans. Banning driving, tattoos, and drinking? That's about protecting the company's investment and controlling their image down to the last detail. But what's maybe the most revealing is the lack of creative and financial freedom. They couldn't write their own music, and their finances were totally managed for them. Basically, every single part of their lives was curated. And this intense control takes a brutal human toll. Physically, we're talking about insane 14-hour training days, super strict diets, and exhaustion so bad that members have actually fainted. Jennie, in particular, has been seen on stage struggling to breathe. That's the physical price of this relentless pace. And then there's the financial toll, the betrayal. The group's own financial manager from their own company was investigated for stealing artists' money, their money, to pay for a gambling habit. So just think about that for a second. They are being pushed to their absolute physical breaking point while the money they're working for is literally being stolen from them. Now, as if the pressure from inside the company wasn't enough, the attacks from the outside have been just as vicious. This is where we get into the really dark side of obsessive fandom, where that love and adoration gets twisted into harassment and pure hate. Jennie, for whatever reason, has been a lightning rod for this. When her relationship with Kai from the group EXO was confirmed in 2018, the backlash was insane. People were furious that she dared to have a private life. Then, in 2022, a hacker leaked what looked like private photos of her with V from BTS. Even though many were proven to be fake, it set off this firestorm of online hate. A year later, new photos pop up, and the company's response is basically a shrug, calling it a private matter. And that was seen as them just abandoning her, leaving her to face the wolves all by herself. And this hostility, it doesn't just stay online. It spills into the real world in some really ugly ways. During a radio show appearance, Lisa was just playfully dancing for the cameras, and this photographer, supposedly a Jennie fan, starts screaming at Lisa to move. He literally yelled that quote at her. You can find the clip. You see Lisa's smile just vanish. She looks scared, confused, and then she has to pull herself together and pretend like nothing just happened. It was just a moment of public, professional humiliation. The cruelty even became this weird, coordinated public spectacle. A totally baseless rumor started online that Jennie was a bully. So, to punish her, people at a fan event organized this silent, brutal protest. As the members were handing out ice cream, fans would take it from Jisoo, Rosé, and Lisa, but when they got to Jennie, they would just pointedly refuse and turn their backs on her. It's a perfect, horrible example of how a lie online can turn into this deeply personal public shaming. And from public shaming, the attacks escalated to a whole other level. The hate moved beyond psychological cruelty and straight into the territory of credible, life-threatening danger. Yeah, this wasn't just online trolls being nasty anymore. The constant, hateful campaigns crossed a terrifying line, and they morphed into direct, specific threats of physical violence against the members. In 2019, a huge wave of threats started targeting Lisa. Anti-fan groups started posting messages just like this one, explicitly saying they planned to kill her if she ever came to their country. And just to show they were serious, they posted these messages with gruesome pictures of weapons, guns, knives, making the threat feel absolutely, terrifyingly real. Okay, but here's where the story takes a really disturbing turn. It's the difference in how these threats were handled. When Lisa was threatened, the response was immediate. The Thai embassy in Korea publicly said something, and her company YG put out a statement promising to protect her. But then, just months later, when an almost identical threat was made against Jennie, also with a picture of a gun, the company said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just a deafening, chilling silence that left everyone wondering, why would you protect one member and not the other? So, when you lay it all out, the corporate control, the public humiliation, the financial betrayal, the death threats, it's a really grim picture. Honestly, it would be enough to make anyone break, but that is not how this story ends. And that's the most important point here. Through all of it, they show up. Despite everything that's been thrown at them, they walk out onto the biggest stages in the world and they perform. Their ability to not just survive this unimaginable pressure, but to keep creating and thriving. That's maybe the most powerful part of their whole story. It is a profound act of resilience in a system that seems designed to chew them up and spit them out. And that brings us right back to where we started. When you look at the whole picture, the incredible highs and the traumatic lows, you're left with this really unsettling question. For everything they've gained, just look at everything it has cost them. Is this kind of fame, is it really worth that price?